He was the last tough guy of Britain, a man who toyed with Britain and America at his whim. Born into unimaginable wealth, with a family fortune powerful enough to rival nations, Tom Delaney chose a different path. Instead of basking in luxury, he vanished into Africa for 10 long years. Just when the world had assumed him dead, he returned, and within came chaos. Tom came back for his inheritance, a legacy left behind by his father that could alter the balance of power between Britain and America. But what was this legacy? It was a plot of land called Newfound, a seemingly insignificant piece of the map, but coveted by the most powerful factions of the time. At his father's burial, Tom's strange behavior raised eyebrows. He muttered cryptic words in an unknown language and smeared an odd powder on his face. Among those watching was a beautiful woman, his half-sister. Just a day earlier, she had been the sole heir to their father's estate. Her husband had already brokered a deal to sell the land to the powerful East India Company. But British law was clear. A son's claim always took precedence. With Tom's return, her inheritance evaporated, and the East India Company's plans were dashed. This was only the beginning of Tom's war with the world. Tom quickly learned from his father's lawyer that Newfound was no ordinary land. It was the key to untold fortunes and power, drawing the attention of Britain, America, and even shadowy organizations like the East India Company. Refusing their offer to buy the land, Tom found himself marked by powerful enemies. But Tom was no ordinary man. His years in Africa had hardened him, exposing him to horrors that granted him ancient, forbidden knowledge. These skills would prove essential in the battles to come. Tom suspected his father's death was no accident. With the help of an anatomy doctor, he exhumed the body. The grim truth was revealed. His father had been poisoned. This wasn't just a family feud, it was murder. And the stakes were far higher than anyone could imagine. Armed with this knowledge, Tom declared war on everyone vying for his land. He repaid his father's debts in full, silencing any whispers of weakness. Even his father's mysterious widow, who appeared out of nowhere claiming half the estate, couldn't intimidate him. Tom outmaneuvered her at every turn. The East India Company grew increasingly desperate. They sent assassins, spies, and even offered bribes, but Tom stood firm. When brute force failed, they turned to manipulation, using his stepmother to sow division. Yet Tom always seemed one step ahead, playing his enemies against each other. Meanwhile, Tom wasn't just defending himself, he was preparing for war. He recruited allies like Orticus, a notorious executioner, and George, a quirky chemist, to help him manufacture gunpowder. But producing gunpowder during a time of strict royal control was no small feat. Tom had to outwit both the East India Company and the British Crown to secure the resources he needed. Tom's resilience made him a target for everyone. When an American spy tried to coerce him into selling the land to the United States, Tom agreed on his own terms. He promised to deliver gunpowder in exchange for safe passage to America. But delivering on this promise meant taking incredible risks. With his factory under constant surveillance, Tom orchestrated a daring heist to steal saltpeter, a critical ingredient for gunpowder, from the East India Company. Using cunning, charm, and a bit of luck, he pulled off the impossible. However, the heist came at a cost. The company placed a massive bounty on his head. Tom's defiance infuriated his enemies. The East India Company and the British Crown joined forces to destroy him. He was arrested for treason, tortured, and stripped of his rights. But even in chains, Tom was unyielding. He demanded a meeting with Stuart Strange, the chairman of the East India Company. In a tense confrontation, Tom turned the tables. He threatened to expose the company's darkest secrets unless they dropped all charges and secured his escape. Stuart, knowing the stakes, had no choice but to comply. With his freedom secured, Tom set sail, leaving behind a legacy of defiance and intrigue. He had outmaneuvered Britain's most powerful forces and escaped with his life, his land, and his pride intact. This was no ordinary tale of revenge or survival. It was the story of a man who refused to bow to empires, who fought against impossible odds, and who left a trail of chaos in his wake. Tom Delaney wasn't just the last tough guy of Britain, he was a force of nature, a living legend who proved that even the most powerful could fall. So, what do you think about Tom's story? Would you have made the same choices? Or would you have taken a different path? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more thrilling recaps like this one. Until next time, stay curious.